Laura Fryer put out a brand new video. And this video that she put out is talking about none other than everybody's favorite video game of the last generation, which is Mixtape. Now, we tend to react to Laura Fryer videos a lot. Fun fact, Laura Fryer actually commented on our last reaction on my video on Hypnotic Gaming Live. I don't think she realizes that I have a main channel. Probably not. But she did comment on my last video that we reacted to her, which was a little while ago. So shout out to Laura Fryer if you do end up watching this again. Appreciate you. We are going to be checking out this video that she made about Mixtape because I feel like with all the industry nonsense that's going on right now and how there is just an obvious push, an inorganic push for this game, an artificial push, whatever word you want to use, it's so obvious and the people gaslight you and try to pretend like it's not actually happening. Well, we can all see it with our eyes, and they try to tell you, well, your eyes are lying to you, and the entire industry is doing that right now. So I figure let's listen to somebody who has decades of experience in the gaming industry, and let's see what she has to say. For all I know, we might disagree. We might agree. It might be, 50-50. Who really knows at this point? But I always find it to be pretty interesting, her videos. I think she does a good job breaking it all down from multiple standpoints. So let's see how this goes. Here we go. Mixtape from Laura Fryer. Let's check this out. Fucking copyrighted music. I don't have a perpetuity license. I'm not a multi-billionaire. I'm just kidding, by the way. I don't know if this is one of the songs in the game. I'm just saying.
A lot of people really like Mixtape because it captures that late 90s coming-of-age feeling. The music, the friendships, that last wild night before everything changes.
Oh, yeah, last wild night. The last wild night where we all became criminals and arsonists. Where we all told our police dad fathers to go fuck off and let me be a big girl and live my life.
For some, it feels like the perfect time capsule of their teenage years. But a lot of others feel like the game is being reviewed more on the soundtrack and nostalgia than the act.
It feels like, all right, the people who are claiming that it feels like their life, number one, I think they're lying through their teeth. I think they were given a script in order to say something like that, because I can't imagine that most people are seeing themselves in this game because it's such a dramatized video game and story that if you are really trying to say that this is making you think about your past or your previous experiences or whatever, I have to question what kind of experiences you had. I'm almost positive that is not true. What I believe is actually going on here, and I've said this many times before, is I believe this is the fantasy of people who made this video game, some 40-year-old developers that made this video game and thought to themselves, what would the 90s be like if I could go back and redo it? And that's what I feel like is happening here, in my opinion. But anyway, let's go.
Actual experience of playing it. It feels like Mixtape hit a bunch of these reviewers right in the member berries, and that personal nostalgia is clearly driving a lot of these 10 out of 10 scores.
Supposedly.
Look, people don't agree on what that childhood experience even looked like. And we don't even agree on what a game is anymore. But when journalists are scoring these low scope...
Well, I mean, at the very least, a video game should have gameplay to it, like actual gameplay to it, not just random moments here or there where we might experience a button press or two, and that's it. Again, I've mentioned actual, real, well-done, interactive story video games. I'm not a telltale video game player, okay, but I do play, I should say I did play like Heavy Rain, for example, Detroit Become Human. Those kind of video games are heavily interactive, and they're basically movie video games, but every little thing that you can do in that game, not only can you do it, but there's so many different branching paths and choices and things that you could decide. It's insane. The amount of things that you could do in that game is insane. And then after every single chapter, they lay out to you every option you could have made and where it would have went in the story, showing you just how many branching paths there actually are. But with this, it's just you're on a train, basically. You're on a train, and it's one stop. It's only one stop, right? So again, it's not. I don't feel like these are comparable. But unfortunately, the gaming press and the media are trying to compare these two games. They're like, oh, well, how could you hate Mixtape when these games existed already? Yeah, because they're actually games. Mixtape is not a game. But anyway, like she said, we're going to be arguing about this all the time. Let's press play. Here we go.
Interactive stories, the same as a massive, ambitious project, it feels really broken. And it's feeding straight into the bigger issue.
Hold on, go back. What'd she say about that? Go back.
It's the same as a massive, ambitious project. But when journalists are scoring these low-scope, interactive stories, the same as a massive, ambitious project, it feels really broken.
True.
And it's feeding straight into the bigger issue of journalist trust.
True.
This is exactly what happened in Hollywood, and it's happening in games.
Absolutely true. And that's the problem, right? This is the issue. When you have video games that change the game, like Crimson Desert, for example, getting a 6 for some of the most ridiculous reasons, by the way. We're talking really stupid fucking reasons, right? Like when we looked at the actual IGN reviewer and listened to him break down all the reasons why he had a problem with Crimson Desert, which, by the way, in that entire video, he never said what he liked about the game. I think he said like maybe one thing. Everything else was the problem with this, problem with that, problem with the combat, problem with the overall, the world being too big, too, like whatever. It was just ridiculous. It was honestly ridiculous. So to give that kind of game a 6 and to give this a 10, yeah, people are going to think that this is a little bit stupid. Like how are we even comparing the two here?
For those of you who haven't seen it yet, here's what Mixtape actually is. It's a short 3-hour narrative game from a tiny 12-person studio in Melbourne, Australia. It follows 3 friends on their last night of high school. It's got a strong 90s alt-rock soundtrack and very light gameplay.
Very light gameplay. Let's make sure we stay on that. Very, very light gameplay.
Mostly walking, skating, and playing a few small mini games. It blew up on social media because it immediately brought the whole "what even is a game" question back into the spotlight.
You know, I wouldn't say that's the reason why it blew up on social media. I think that was you could say that was like an after effect, right? Like people bringing that up after the fact. But the reason why this game blew up on social media the way that it did is because every single outlet was repeating the same exact script, giving it a 10 out of 10, saying the same exact words, and trying to convince you that this video game was somehow the best game over the last 10 years. A 3-hour video game with little to no gameplay at all somehow is a 10 out of 10 best video game in the last decade, and they're all trying to convince you of that. So naturally, people are going to be like, that seems a little weird, right? That seems a little extreme. They're not even... I'll give you a perfect example. Guys, Forza Horizon 6 got a 10 out of 10 from a lot of outlets. Do you see them talking about Forza Horizon 6 in the same manner that they talked about Mixtape? Do you see them promoting Forza Horizon 6 in the same manner that they were talking about Mixtape? Do you see all these massive accounts, PlayStation, Xbox, all these official yellow checkmark accounts promoting Forza Horizon 6 in the same manner that they did Mixtape? Do you see Xbox, the official account, talking about how, hey guys, just a reminder, if you don't like a video game that, just because you don't like it doesn't mean that it's not a good video game. Do you see them posting things like that to defend Forza Horizon 6 from the claims that it doesn't deserve a 10 out of... Guys, just so we can really see the difference here, okay? Forza Horizon 6, I don't think it's a 10. But I could fully understand why some people would probably think it's a 10, okay? Because I'm getting ready to score that game pretty fucking high. I got about, I think, 10 hours in the game so far. I want to play for another 10 hours or so. But I can see that, right? Like, it's an actual game. There's so much to that, it's ridiculous, right? Whereas trying to compare it to this and then all the gaslighting and the defense on top of that, this is why people looked at this like this is something suspicious. And I don't think people were wrong in thinking that. So that's really why this blew up. Again, it had nothing to do with the gameplay. The gameplay came after the fact. Because I'll be honest with you, nobody even knew about this game. Most people didn't know. Most people didn't care, which is evident by the numbers, because this is the kind of video game that most people don't care to play. It's a very niche kind of video game. The only reason people started looking into the game and the gameplay was because you guys artificially pushed it to levels that we haven't seen in years. And by you guys, I mean the gaming media, not Laura Fryer. But you get what I'm saying. It's the artificial push of the game that made people investigate it and made them say, you know what? There's something really weird here, right? Let me look into this game and see what's going on. Why? Because naturally, if somebody tells you a game is a 10 out of 10 and you're seeing it everywhere, what's the first thing somebody's going to do? They're going to look up the game. They're going to look up the game and they're going to check it out and they're going to see what's going on. So anyway, let's go.
From a development standpoint, this game was done right. They had a clear vision and they stuck to it. In every interview with these developers, you can tell that they genuinely love what they built. And they treated it exactly like a movie. Emotional resonance was their goal. They built the whole thing.
I've never seen these guys before. Wait, what? Holy shit. Wait. I've never seen them before. All right, this makes a lot of sense. This is definitely like they're not beating the theater kid allegations, bro. They're not beating like the 40-year-old theater kid allegations where they That is funny. So that's Destin interviewing them on the left. In case you guys don't know who Destin is, he's former IGN. He became an independent content creator because he was either fired from IGN or whatever the case may be. So props to him for trying to do his own thing. But he still uses his connections within the gaming industry to try to, you know, push his content. But the developers of the two guys on the right, never seen them before. But whatever, anyway. Nice T-shirt, though. Holy shit, look at this guy's T-shirt. Very nice. Not exactly very progressive. I like it. Very misogynistic. Perfect.
Like a concept album, each song with its own chapter.
Pace right was really important, so we laid the whole game out. And like,
it literally says total pleasure with a girl holding some massive fucking titties. That is, wow.
Horizontal slice.
Wow.
Song by song. Had like all the tracks, kind of had really rough versions of the gameplay.
And they knew exactly what they were doing with this kissing scene. They intentionally made it gross, awkward, and uncomfortable. They wanted players to feel...
No! You just had to ruin it! Come on, Laura, no! We went from looking at the T-shirt to looking at this. Nasty.
The real teenage embarrassment up close. It wasn't a mistake. It was the point.
Can we skip this? Can we skip this?
And honestly, that tongue-wrestling moment is a big reason that people have even heard of the game. Okay, it went viral, it got memed everywhere, and it brought a ton of attention to the game.
That's true.
Both good and bad.
No good.
When you look at it from a scope and cost standpoint...
Brother, what the fuck? Bro, this guy... Okay, these guys absolutely are making this video game in their image, right? Like, in what they wish their experience in the 90s was like. There's no way. There's no way they live the life that played out in the game. They just wanted to make their idealized version of the entire experience.
It was also very reasonable. This game was made by a tiny 12-person team in Melbourne, Australia. And they weren't like Double Fine, which had 40 people on Keeper, which was their indies.
Does anybody else get driven crazy whenever you see like a messy desk? Or am I the only one? I can't stand a messy desk. It drives me fucking insane. Like, look at all those Coke cans and garbage on the fucking desk in the back. Like, whose desk is that? Why would you even show that in a video? Why not clean that up before your video? Like, am I the only one? Am I crazy?
Style experiment. They didn't do that. Instead, they scoped the game realistically to what a small team could actually deliver. And with upfront money from Game Pass and their publisher, they've likely already made their money back.
Yeah, Mr. Hardcore Mode, I see you, man. Clean your fucking desk. Clean your desk.
And if not, they soon will. Look, I've said it before. I want game developers to experiment. I want them to make whatever game they want.
Yeah,
but
fair.
They need to scope it to the size of their audience.
True.
And they did. So I love this game from that standpoint. What's tough for everyone isn't the developers, it's the reviews. It's hard to believe this game deserves a 10 out of 10 when Crimson Desert only got in the mid-70s. But the backlash isn't new. I played Heavy Rain back in the day. It was a dark, interactive thriller where a father has to go through brutal trials to save his kidnapped son from a killer.
Well, one of the greatest games ever, by the way. Seriously. Like, if you guys haven't played Heavy Rain, and you've never played one of these interactive story kind of video games, I highly implore you to go play Heavy Rain. I'm so serious. Like, find a way to play Heavy Rain and then come back and tell me that you've experienced storytelling better than that. Because again, like there is some great storytelling out there, some great video games with great stories, but Heavy Rain was seriously just illegally good. It should not have been that good. Like graphically, it's going to be a little rough, right? Because it's pretty old at this point. If you want something a little bit graphically better with still a good story, go play Detroit Become Human. That's a great game as well. But Heavy Rain is just it's a whole different fucking ball game, bro. It's a whole different ball game. Anyway, let's see if she says that it's different or if it's the same. If she says it's the same, I disagree heavily.
It had dozens of different endings. We played it one summer as a family. We had one person with the controller and everyone else was armchair quarterbacking the whole time. It was a great experience and way more interactive than if we had just been watching a movie together. It brought back the feelings that I used to get when I'd play board games with my family as a kid. When Heavy Rain came out in 2010, it was an industry darling, but a lot of people still called it not a real game. It still won BAFTAs and sold millions of copies. And yet here we are having the same conversation about Mixtape.
I do remember that people were saying Heavy Rain was not a real game, but that's because when Heavy Rain came out, video games like that at the scale that it was and the kind of storytelling that was capable in that game was not really seen before. You know, like the interactive movie style video games. There were probably some other examples, but the way that Heavy Rain did it, it was almost non-existent. So Heavy Rain was kind of like a trailblazer in that sense, where it kind of set the stage really for what is possible in storytelling interactive video games that you actually still participate in. Mixtape is a video game that you barely participate in.
Here's the challenge with a heavy story-based experience. You want the player to actually experience the story,
right?
But every gamer is at a different level. A lot of people will never see the full story if the game is too hard. This was a debate we had when I was a producer on Crimson Skies. You see, I'm the worst pilot on the planet, which was confirmed by the glider gnome. But I still wanted to play through the game and experience the story. So,
all right, real quick, because she didn't really specify. So she used Heavy Rain as an example to kind of, cross-reference Mixtape. I don't agree with that cross-reference whatsoever. Whatso-fucking-ever. Because, again, if you're going to bring up Heavy Rain, you have to distinguish between the two, the obvious glaring differences between both video games, where Heavy Rain is a video game that has an ungodly amount of branching stories, and you actually participate in every action that leads up to that particular branch of the story. Whatever way the story goes, you're the reason why the story went that way. Whereas with Mixtape, you're just along for the ride, and you press one or two buttons every random, moment, whatever. Sometimes even for not for a long time. It's totally different. You are completely along for the ride. It's a one-stop train. So hopefully she separates that later on, but she didn't do it that early, so I just wanted to, specify. Anyway.
For people like me, we added a skip option. If you failed a mission 3 times in a row, the game would prompt you and let you move on to the next mission if you wanted.
Gay.
The argument was simple. At the time, we were selling physical discs. We already had the gamer's money. If the customer just wants to experience the story and doesn't want to bang their head against the wall, why not let them do that?
Gay.
And if you've never watched play tests, here's a little secret. Some missions stop players completely while other players fly right through them. And you
listen, I'll never blame her or a developer for doing that. I think it's gay, okay? I think it's fucking weak, right? I think that as a gamer, you should want to rise to the occasion, right? You should want to rise at the challenge that the developers set at the bare minimum. I can understand maybe not wanting to play a hard mode, right? I can understand that. I feel like there should be normal experience and there should be hard mode, right? I don't like the whole like super easy, normal, hard, very like, I don't like that. Just have like a baseline normal experience that every player has to rise to at the bare minimum to experience the game. And then you can have it hard mode. But again, I understand why they do it. I get it. Accessibility, all that bullshit. I understand that. I'm just saying, me personally, my own personal tastes, which are not universal. I get that too. So I'm not trying to say that it is. I rather rise to the occasion. That's why I have a rule when I play Souls-like video games. or when I play action video games like Stellar Blade or Neo 3, for example, we played recently. You guys know, if I encounter a boss, whether I knew I was going to encounter a boss or not, well, more so especially if I didn't know. If I didn't know I was going to encounter a boss and I encountered that boss, it doesn't fucking matter if I am undergeared, underleveled, I don't have the right weapon. I'm gonna come to the table the way that I showed up, and I'm going to try to find a way to win. I've done that every single time. You know, I was 30 levels under the last area in Neo 3, and I still found a way to get through it. You know, even though it was clearly like I was getting two-shot, but it didn't matter anyway. The point is, that's just how I am. But I understand not everybody's like that. So I'm just speaking from my own personal experience. Anyway, let her cook.
Can't predict it. Even really good players sometimes get stuck on certain missions and can't get through. So the debate isn't new, but what's different this time is the gap.
The gap.
Watching reviewers give Mixtape a 10 out of 10 while they dunk on Crimson Desert, that's what erodes trust.
True.
And that trust in journalists is at an all-time low.
I think it's at 0. To be honest, I don't even think, I wouldn't even say that it's low at this point. I would say that it's literally 0. I would say that people, I don't think there's anybody that trusts a single outlet that is considered mainstream media. I just don't. I don't think, you know, at least not for, well, you know what? Let's be fair here. There's a lot of normies, so maybe they do, okay? But in the grand scheme of things, when you could talk to these normies, and most of them don't fuck with a lot of the major websites like Otaku, IGN, and all that, I think it's fair to say it is so fucking low that it practically should be at 0 at this point. But yeah, to be fair, there are some people that do check out IGN, especially still. IGN's the only one that really gets any sort of traffic. Everybody else kind of struggles with traffic, unless they talk about how gay things are, and then people rage click their articles. So that's that. Let's continue.
Exactly what happened in Hollywood. Look at Rotten Tomatoes. You regularly see 40-point gaps between what critics are saying about a movie and what the actual audience is saying.
It's crazy how often that actually has happened. Like, how many times have we seen this? Even with video games, too. You guys know, every time we see IGN score something a 5 or a 6, what's the first thing that pops up in your mind? Shit, that game must be good. I gotta go check it out. Why is that? You know what I mean? Why is that? Same thing with the movies. Whenever you see stuff like, look at that spread. 59% from critics. Almost 100% from viewers. You know, it happens a lot. And it's going to continue to keep happening a lot. And it's because, unfortunately, the industry, they're very pompous. They try to tell you that they're the arbiters of information. They're the ones who, you know, you got to listen to. They're the ones that are official. They're the one with the credentials, all this nonsense. And meanwhile, all of them combined get destroyed by usually just one YouTuber, let alone the thousands of YouTubers that are out there. So it just makes you wonder, what's even the point? Well, the point is this, clearly.
They're saying about a movie and what the actual audience is saying. It feels like we're not even watching the same movies.
Nope.
I personally stopped watching the Oscars years ago because their opinions no longer match my taste. And I'm not alone.
See?
They've actually lost roughly half their audience since 2010. Meanwhile, the Game Awards keep breaking viewership records every year.
I've played it, and after you see this trailer, I think you're going to want to as well. Welcome to High Guard.
Yo, Laura, why did Laura have to put that in there, bro? Laura, you're not sneaky. You're not sneaky. Laura, that is a sneak diss. That is absolutely a sneak diss against Jeff Keighley. Don't lie to me. You absolutely felt it, Jeff Keighley. You know for a fact she was editing the video. She's like, I'm going to put that in there. Bro. No, so I think that the Game Awards keeps getting bigger and bigger viewership because the gaming industry as a whole is so massive to the point where naturally, as it continues to get bigger, everything around it will also get bigger. Not only that, people basically treat the Game Awards as one massive show to find out what games are coming up next. They just want to see trailers, right? Most people don't give a fuck about the actual awards. And if we do care about the awards, it's only because we want to fight over what actually deserved to get XYZ award. It happens all the time. Even though at the end of the day, most gamers don't care. Like, if you could give me the trailers from the Game Awards without me having to watch the actual award show, I would be all for that. But we don't get that, right? We have to watch the award show in order to get the trailers. Otherwise, how are we going to find out about amazing games like Highguard? How are we going to find out about it, right? Guys, and I don't care what anybody says, I saw that background image, and I really thought that was Elder Scrolls 6 when that first... Before he said, welcome to Highguard, I was like, oh, shit, that is Elder Scrolls 6. It looks exactly like the image that they promoted that game with, and then it comes out to be Highguard, and I'm like, what the fuck is Highguard? Anyway, but she definitely put that in there on purpose. I see you, Laura. I see you.
But if they keep going all in on games like Highguard that sadly shut down after just a few weeks, they might end up facing the same problem. I know gamers are frustrated. They don't like seeing this big gap in review scores. It's annoying. But I also think we're putting way too much emphasis on journalist opinions. If they want to keep cozying up with developers and destroying their own credibility, that's their problem. Plenty of people are pointing it out, so it will course correct in the end.
I agree. It will. And that's what they're trying to avoid. This is why those same journalists, those same access media shills, they're on social media every single day complaining about YouTubers 24/7. Literally. If you go, I swear to God, I will put money on this. I'll put money on this. If you go to any of these shills that you know of and you look at their tweets, you're guaranteed to see them bitching about supposed grifters at least once a week. More than that. Like, way more than that. But I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. Like, at least once a week. But I guarantee you it's probably 10 times or more in a week. Hell, probably even a day for some of them. Bitching about grifters. Grifters this, grifters that. Conspiracy theorists. All the fucking time. Right? Those dirty grifters trying to make money from rage bait. But here I am posting the same video that I posted the other day with a different title, trying to get money from Twitter because, well, that's the only platform that I actually get money from. We all know what that's about. You know? So, again, guys, it's one of those things where it's like rules for thee, not for me. You know, they're allowed to make money doing what they want in the gaming industry. They're allowed to make money talking about the things they want in the gaming industry. They're allowed to get an ungodly amount of free shit talking about what they want in the gaming industry. They're allowed to have sponsorship deals. They're allowed to have contract deals. They're allowed to have hashtag ad in their description. They're allowed to do all these things. But God forbid a YouTuber gets a fucking super chat from a viewer who's enjoying the content. Well, then that's just grifting. That's problematic. That's disgusting. How dare you be like that? You fucking grifter. It's crazy, bro. I swear to God.
At the end of the day, not everyone loves Mixtape, and that's okay. But I think this is exactly the kind of game we should see more of in this industry.
No!
I want to see developers making passion projects, experimenting, but scoping it realistically so they don't end up with massive layoffs if it doesn't hit.
You know, so here's the thing. I get what she's saying. I do. But I'm gonna vehemently disagree. And the reason why is because not that I'm saying this game shouldn't exist. This game can exist. I've said this many times. This game should exist. I'll keep saying that. This game can exist. It should exist. The problem people have is not with the existence of the game. The problem that people have is how the game is being utilized and weaponized by the industry to push a bullshit fucking narrative that is also being funded by a multi-billionaire, one of the richest people in the world, and they're trying to pass themselves off as just a little indie team, a small team of 12 people that's totally not funded by a multi-billionaire. You know what I'm saying? That's the problem that people have. The problem that people have is with that in particular. Like, don't try to push this game that nobody would otherwise care about. Don't try to push this game on us. Tell us it's the best game of the last 10 years. and then tell us it was made by a small little Australian team of 12 people that has a billionaire behind them that had to save their company with their first game that never made it on Kickstarter. They tried to raise funds on Kickstarter, and the Kickstarter ended up failing. And then here came Annapurna, Captain Save-A-Ho, or Captain Save-A-Liberal, came in here with their billions of dollars. And they're like, yeah, we'll fund your game, and we'll make sure it gets heavily advertised. And since we have connections, we'll make sure it wins that nice little BAFTA award because, you know, we want to make sure you win that BAFTA because we can't pay off Jeff Keighley anymore. So we'll make sure you at least get a BAFTA. I don't even know what the fuck BAFTA stands for. But they all talk about it like it's this prestigious thing. Nobody fucking cares. That's the thing. Nobody cares about any of that. Only they do because they care about the opinions of each other, not the people that they're selling products to. They don't care about your opinion. They don't care about my opinion. They don't care if we buy their game or not. All they care about is whether or not their fellow people in the industry, the access media, and other developers celebrate their game. That's all they care about. Which is why they constantly focus on review scores from all these major outlets that nobody else cares about except them. So it's a massive circle jerk. That's all it is. It's a huge fucking circle jerk. Anyway, let's continue. You betrayed me, Laura, but that's fine. She's allowed to have her opinion, obviously.
We should be celebrating that this studio did it right, even if their game isn't for us. And I, for one, am looking forward to seeing what they do next.
But the thing is, like, what did they do right, though? That's my question. What did they do right? Aside from, okay, so she's saying, like, they made a video game with small scope and they saw it through from beginning to end. Fine, no problem. The thing is, though, that small scope video game is actually not a small scope video game. Because look at the amount of funding, look at the amount of money behind it. Laura, think about this. If you watch this video, just think about this real quick. All right, this video game, the budget for this video game, whatever you probably have in your mind is probably, I would say, fairly small, right? The budget's fairly small, at least from the design aspect of it. But then you start getting into the licensed music, where it's licensed in perpetuity, which means they have infinite license on every single one of those songs, which is extremely expensive. We're not even going to get into that. There's no way they made their money back on that alone, not even including the $300,000 in government grants that they received as well. Not even including all the influencer kits that were sent out to all the people to tell everybody in the world it was a 10 out of 10. Thank you for the free t-shirt and CD player and headphones and all that stuff. Guys, what I'm trying to tell you, what I'm trying to tell Laura is that just think about this. Is it really a small scope video game? I understand the video game is not really a video game and the design aspect of it is small scope, but the actual development of it, the money that was invested into it and the money that was used to promote it is not small scope. This is not a small scope promoted video game. This video game was promoted harder than some of the AAA games that I've seen recently, where you have PlayStation, Xbox coming out to defend it on their official accounts, saying clearly a message from whoever the, Gen Z social media person wanted to say about the video game. I've never seen this for any game recently that I could think of. But somehow all these major accounts came out in unison to defend this game. So this is why people think that this is clearly an industry plant. And this is why I say that the scope for this game, while it may have been small in design, it's not small in cost. Not even close. It's not a small little indie team of 12 people. They may have been the one that made it, but it's damn sure not small in the sense of how much it costs and who's spending money on it. It's not. I'm sorry. These are the same people, not Laura, but these are the same people that complained. Like I said, I told you guys this before. These are the same people, Kotaku, all these people ran articles about how Expedition 33 should not be considered an indie game because of the fact that the person behind the studio is a little bit wealthy. Mind you, not even anywhere close, not even in the same planet as Annapurna's billion-dollar daughter, but still, like, I think he's like a millionaire or whatever, like a low-tier millionaire, and he designed this video game. Well, he got a small team together, made this video game, made his own studio, left Ubisoft because he was bored over at Ubisoft, and they're like, yeah, well, I don't think it should be considered an indie game because, the guy has money. So why is this considered an indie game when she's one of the richest people in the fucking world? It doesn't make any sense. And it's because they don't want to be consistent. It's because this video game, this is their game. This is their baby, right? This is their chance to try to get the attention back on them for the mainstream press. This is their opportunity, It's always rules for thee, but not for me. So that's why I personally disagree with Laura and the whole like small scope thing. Again, the game can exist. I don't care about that personally. You know how many games like this exist on Steam in any given year? You know how many games like Mixtape come out on Steam every year? Probably hundreds. I'm not even kidding. You could find hundreds of video games like Mixtape on Steam every single year because they're easy to make. They're not hard to make. So for me, I don't care about the fucking game. But it's the way that the game was utilized, the message that was complete bullshit that was being pushed, and how hard they pushed it. If they just would have put out this game and that was it, fine. But they try to convince you this is a generational video game, better than anything that we've gotten in 10 years. A life changer. I'm sorry, I just don't believe that. And it's not just a situation of the game's not for me. I already know it's not for me. That's why I don't pay attention to these games usually. That doesn't mean that I can't look at your story and say, that kind of sounds like bullshit. And then everybody else who looks up the game and researches it like, that's kind of bullshit. And then the people who were suckered into it, who were either played it because they were curious or played it for content, they end up playing it like, that's kind of bullshit. You know? And not only that, the game is already dying. What does it have? Like 600 players on Steam or whatever? Listen, it's not a video game that was for sales. We're well past that. They don't care about sales with video games like Mixtape. It's not about sales, and it's never been about sales. This video game was made for one reason and one reason only. It was the passion project of this studio, funded by the passion of a very wealthy Nepo baby that owns a publishing company that, by the way, her entire team walked out on her a couple of years ago. She had to rehire a whole new team because they all walked out on her. I don't know if people remember that, but I'm just mentioning it. So that's all it is. And it's, again, it's going to come and go, and it's going to die like a fart in the wind, like always. It always works that way. Anyway, let her finish.
Do you think if you would have started this today, maybe you wouldn't have got the backing that you needed, or do you not worry about that?
I don't care. we make what we make. So
yeah, I mean, we make our stuff. And Annapurna's always looked after us, and I think we're lucky, and that's good.
yeah,
They literally say it. They literally say it, brother. He said, Destin asked the question. He said, if you think you would have made that game today, I'm assuming they're talking about their first game. Like, what would have happened? And they said, yeah, we don't care. We make what we want to make. Annapurna looks after us. We're good. They literally admitted it. Bro. Like, they don't care about making money. They don't care about their game doing well. It's all about just the game that they want to put out there. This is, bro, oh my God. Oh my God. Like, what? They just literally, after my long-winded speech, if I just would have let this play, I could have saved myself 5 minutes. They admitted everything. That is so funny. Anyway, yeah, well, there you go. What else did they say? Let's see.
we are lucky. I think there's a line in the Artful Escape in our previous game that says, an artist's job is not to give people what they want, it's to give them something they could never have imagined. So
Oh my God, bro. These people are so fucking pompous. They're like, yeah, we're not going to give you what you want. We want to give you what we think you need. Because we know what life is really about. We know what life is really about. Like, we're going to make sure you have what you never thought you even needed. And you'll be thanking us for it. Oh my God, I'm going to vomit, bro. Fuck this shit.
Oh.